Finding a band to join, getting gigs. Now, sounds easy, right? I don't think it really is. And I think a lot of people out there have this problem and they have questions about it. Now, I noticed, I've moved to an entirely different area where I am not a known entity. Frankly, there's not a lot of music in the area that I'm at. Now, 30 minutes down the road, there's, some stuff going on, but I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere. And, but I did notice I took the next biggest city, and I noticed there was a group, Tampa Bay musicians, looking for, gigs or whatever. It was something like that. So there's your first tip. Search out Facebook groups for your area. And I see these posts. I see these posts every day. Band looking for, musician. And the ads usually read something like this: band looking for lead guitarist for, such and such genre of band. And, depending on the genre that they're saying, if I see, band looking for lead guitarist for metal band, age range 30 to 45, something like that. And, in this area, naming a specific area, naming, maybe some requirements that they may have. They may want you sober. They may not. I mean, different things that they kind of put in these ads. But let me unpack that particular ad. So they're a band of guys between 30 and 45, and they want to play metal, and they want to rehearse, but there's no talk of any gigs. Now look, you can get into a band, you can join, bands, and you could end up rehearsing, night after night, I don't know, once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. And how long does it take before, one, somebody quits the band, something happens and it dissolves, or people don't get along, the chemistry's not there, and they end up, you're not the right guy for the band. And there's no gigs on the horizon, When if I were to play gigs, if I were to look for a band down here in Florida, in the Tampa Bay area, my number one thing that I would look for is gigs. You could have the best band in the world, but if nobody in the band has any connections, nobody in the band is good at booking themselves or booking gigs or has any connections or anything like that, What are you just going to be in rehearsal limbo, waiting for that moment, waiting for that grand moment for somebody to give you a gig? What are you going to play your uncle's Sunday uh, football party, next year after rehearsing for a whole year? The juice is not worth the squeeze. A true test of a band is how you play live. And that is something I talk about on this channel all the time. You could be amazing in rehearsal, but lug your gear down to the club. Deal with the traffic. Deal with the weather conditions. Deal with the ego maybe of the sound men or the difficulties of the club, and then deal with the interpersonal conflicts of the band itself. And get up on stage and deal with an audience that may not know who you are, who may not be supportive of what you're about to do. And get up on that stage and do your thing, and then see what you're made of. You can rehearse till you're blue in the face. Some nights you can sound good. Some nights you might not sound that great at rehearsal either. But the true test is a live gig. And the thing that would keep a band alive are paid gigs. Because look, it costs money to have to go to rehearsal and drive to rehearsal and put strings on your instrument and get the right gear to play the gigs and all of this stuff, which would make me question right out of the gate. You're 30, to 45 years old, and you're starting a metal band, and that's gonna limit the amount of gigs that you can do. There's only a certain amount of clubs, depending on your area, depending on where you're at in the scene that you're in. There's only going to be a certain amount of clubs, maybe none at all, for a metal band in their 30s and mid 40s. So I see these ads. I see ads like that, and I'm just like, even if I thought about dipping my toe back in playing a genre like that, at my age, I'm 58 years old. I'm almost 60. So most of these ads pretty much exclude me as somebody they would want in their band. And I understand that. I'm aging. I'm aging myself naturally out of the game. But I see these gigs, and I see these people, and look, I have played with a lot of different bands, and there were certain people that I played with. I can think of a R&B singer that I played with for years, and he had the greatest personality, and he was the friendliest person in conversation, and he would go up to every person after a gig and hand out his card and tell them how wonderful they looked, and oh, this is just amazing, and all of this stuff. And that guy was the best person at getting gigs. He understood the game of conversation, of getting out there, of hustling, making people feel good about themselves so that they can do something for you. That is the ultimate lesson right there. If you don't have somebody like that in your band, somebody with natural sales skills, somebody who's not afraid to pick up the phone or go out in the crowd and introduce himself and meet people and shake hands and smile and laugh and, create friendships to where even if you play live, those friends, those people that he's friendly to, they're going to show up to your gigs. So even if you have to book, one gig, and it's really dependent on how many people you can bring to that gig, or this guy, this gregarious person who people love, he is going to bring a lot of people to the gig because people love this guy. If you don't have that, if you're a dour, hard rock act that's, giving their finger to the world, and you're angry, and we're so much better than those other bands, and why doesn't anybody book us on gigs, and how come nobody comes to our show, and shouldn't they all just bow down to us? Shouldn't they all just throw accolades at us, and why aren't we signed, and aren't we incredible? Nothing's going to happen with that attitude. Nothing is going to happen with that approach. I see an ad like that, and even if I wasn't aged out by the ad, the juice is not worth the squeeze for me. I would look at an ad, and if the ad says, upcoming gigs need this, and that would be motivation for me. Okay, you've got some upcoming gigs, so you were going to rehearse. Because look, here's the thing. In Nashville, you get a call for a gig, you show up for the gig. There is no rehearsal. I mean, yes, if you're playing original music and you're doing a showcase for a record label or something like that, yes, you will have rehearsals. But for gigs that pay money, you've got a reputation as a player. You get the phone call and they know you're going to show up and do a good job. You show up, you play the gig, they call songs. Hopefully it's a song you know. If it's not, you do your best. And, you walk away from the gig with money in your pocket. And that's how it works. That's what I'm used to. I'm used to somebody calling me for a gig. Hey, I got your phone number from so-and-so. They recommended you. We need a guitar player for this gig on Sunday. Can you do it? Here's what I would do. I would never say, I learned to not go, yeah, I'm available. I would always get the details of the gig first, because sometimes you tell them you're available and then it maybe lowers their price. Oh, he's available. This guy's easy. It lowers your price. They go, oh, well, I'll just pay him $75. He's already available. But if you remain on the fence, what's going on? What is it? That's what I would say. Tell me about this gig. I'm doing some stuff. I got some stuff going on Sunday, but what do you got? Don't make yourself just easily, oh yes, I can do the gig. That's an approach of somebody that's not as experienced. Find out where it is. Find out how much it pays. Find out what songs you have to play. Find out what songs you may have to learn. Because if you do the math and go, man, I got to learn 40 songs and it pays $100. I've either got a week to learn it. Well, I can maybe space it out, and maybe it's not really 40 songs because I already know 20 of them. And you go, where is it? How far a drive is it? Who do I got to work with? Do I got to work with jerks, or do I get to work with really cool people? All of these things factor into it. That's how it would work in Nashville. But I notice, and probably in a lot of other areas, it works like it does down here. They're trying to put together bands, and maybe with no gigs in sight, at least out of the gate. And I see these bands getting put together in genres where I think, where are you going to play? Playing, let's see, some of the type of bands I was hearing, not screamo, but some different kind of genres where you think, well, man, you're not going to be able to play at the Redneck Bar with, a screamo act. You're not going to be able to do certain things, and it's not going to have a wide range of places where it could be booked. And so all of these things you have to take into consideration. But man, I am very, very, shall we say, slow in interest for a band that just says, oh, we rehearse and we're doing this, and it's a genre that I don't think can be booked a lot. I'll see other things where people are putting together a project and they'll go, it's a 90s party band and we play all music from the 90s and everything, and they name some of the big hits, and you go, this sounds like it has potential. This sounds like somebody who knows how to put something together that people might want to book. The same thing could be an 80s tribute act, or a yacht rock type band looking to put together a yacht rock type band. And, in this area, and it rehearses this much. And I go, well, that at least has more potential for gigs. That doesn't mean that the person that's putting it together knows how to get gigs or where to get gigs. And how would you even get gigs? And I had somebody ask me on the questions in the comments the other day. He said, I'm a metal band and we're thrash. They were a thrash metal band somewhere. And I think it turned out it was Arizona. And he's like, how do we get gigs? And I said, find other bands in the area that are doing a similar thing to what you're doing, that are playing gigs. Go see those bands. Maybe talk to the club owner of those clubs, if they exist, and talk to the band and say, hey, we're a thrash band. We're in your area. Why don't we team up on a double bill? We'll bring our fans, you bring your fans, and, maybe we can build this into a scene. It takes more than one band to create a music scene, to have a thriving music scene. So partnering up with a local band, that can be a valuable thing to do. There's so many factors to think about when you're starting a band, when you're joining a band, when you're trying to get gigs. And, another thing, and I'll add this as the end of the video, and I could talk about this for hours. But in the ad, if they say, we've got gigs on the calendar, we rehearse in this place, you go, okay, so they have an end goal. That is the most important thing. If you just want to go and jam with buddies and have fun and never play a gig, that's one thing. But for me, I want playing in a band and investing my time. I want it to eventually pay off. And I'm not used to playing in these startup bands where guys are rehearsing for months and months and months, and then maybe playing one gig. I want to go, okay, if I have to, let's go do 2 or 3 rehearsals. Let's get our songs down. And you've got gigs on the calendar. That tells me that this thing is going to pay off down the line. And that is a very important thing to keep in mind. If you want to be professional, if you want this band to do something, to go somewhere, seeing in the ad, we have gigs booked, need a player for this. And that is just some of my perspective in navigating, joining a band, getting gigs, and trying to have a experience that you can enjoy and make a couple of bucks.